It's time for all your binge-worthy pop culture news. Welcome to Up and Adam.
Hey, guys. Welcome back and happy Thursday. Obviously, you guys know we're back to talk about the Real Housewives of Orange County, and I know that you see the flowers behind me. I wanted to say those were for Jason on behalf of his grandmother. That was so sweet of you, Murray. I know that you're probably in the room. I haven't seen everybody in the room yet, but thank you. And I just put him behind me because you wouldn't be able to see him behind Jason. So I'm sure it means the world. Actually, I'm going to let Jason come up.
Hi. That's so sweet. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who's been reaching out to me on social media. That has been so kind. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. All right. So we're back to talk about the Real Housewives of Orange County. In last night's episode, there was a lot, but it's like one of those, it almost felt like a filler episode, but I kind of like seeing Emily like jump in there and like call Noella out. Noella seems to be the main focus this season, even though we thought it was going to be Heather Dubrow. Well, before you chime in on this, guys, along with Jason, I'm going to ask you and the live chat the same thing. If you had to give this episode a rating 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, what would you give it?
You know, I have to say that I'm not disappointed with OC this season. I enjoy watching it. But yeah, this episode was more of like a filler, but it was like a fun filler. Because, you know, like you, and I said this before, and I got to stop saying this, but Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, when we watch it sometimes, it's like, okay, it's too heavy to watch. It's like it's too much. And their filler episodes are like just so awful. This was good. I enjoyed watching it. We got a little more information. And honestly, my favorite housewife right now is Emily. So I'll give it a 7.
That's so funny that you said that, because Tamra Judge came out in a recent interview and she was saying that Emily and Gina are not housewives material, that they're boring, that they seem so calculated. And she also said she wants Heather Dubrow to stop talking about money.
Well, I mean, that is all Heather Dubrow has to talk about, right?
I mean, I'm not mad at it, because if you have the money,
that's why I'm watching this show.
Right. It's interesting. And, you know, a lot of people liked seeing Heather Dubrow last night sit down with her family. That's how we kicked off this episode, where they sit down and they're just like, how are you doing in school? How was your day? And they're having this very real conversation, I guess. It's the most relatable conversation that we have. And Heather was just pretty much letting the audience know, you know, she's cherishing these moments because as of right now, she can see that her kids are about to be out of school. And then she's going to be left with 2 out of her 4 kids. She's going to be an empty nester. Can you imagine having that entire massive mansion to yourselves?
No, I can't imagine. Would I love to imagine that for 5 minutes? Yes, but I can't. I can't.
Yes.
You know what I have to say about Heather and the conversations she's had, you know, with not only Max, but her other kids as well, who are part of the LGBTQIA plus community.
Right.
Isn't that so easy for people to say? I don't know why Larsa could never get that right.
Because that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
No, but for your kids to be so comfortable and open,
right,
to be able to tell you who they are, how they feel, that really says something about Heather. And I know people like her, you don't like her, but this is just a reason that made me love Heather, because I'm indecisive if I like her back on the show or not. But
yeah, you know, and her daughter Kat, it was interesting too, because when they were having dinner, Kat was just pretty much saying, I'm the middle child. Like, I don't relate to my brothers and sisters. And Heather made a good point. She's like, maybe right now you guys are in different times. And Heather, I love the conversation she has with her kids, but she's like, I'm telling you, in the future, you guys will be in a different place. You guys will grow together, evolve, and you'll have different relationships. I mean, growing up for me and having my brothers and sisters around, we fought like crazy. And now sometimes we still fight, but we have such a better relationship where we really enjoy talking, you know?
Yeah. You know, I also with sorry, I think I'm echoing Adam just a little bit.
You're not echoing.
I'm pretty sure I am. No, with Heather too, even on Watch What Happens Live, she was telling Andy, because Andy brought that up, that it was such a great moment to see, and you talk to your kids about this, and some people would thank you for having that conversation and being so open and delicate with it. But she said, you know, across the United States, across America, we have families that there are different kids who have different feelings, and she just wants to normalize that. And
Right.
I have a lot of respect for what she said, and I do have a lot of respect for how she handles her kids, especially with something that is so delicate. And
It,
a lot of kids aren't comfortable. I mean, you and I both, the way we grew up, we weren't just comfortable of coming out.
no, and I always thought, remember, for those who don't know, when Jason and I first started dating, in the first year, I asked him if he would please keep it a secret because I didn't want my family to know because I thought my family would never talk to me again. But that's a real kind of feeling. And I felt so bad for her daughter, Kat, who wanted to take down her rainbow flag that represented her community because people at school were bullying her over it. And she's like, it's not the easiest conversation to have. And, Heather was like, wait a minute. Are you taking it down because you want to? Or are you taking it down because people are bullying you? And she's like, well, I don't know. And Heather's like, just know that you're loved no matter what. And when she was talking in the confessionals about how some kids, which is really sad, but like they get disowned, they get the crap beat out of them by their parents, they get sent away to camps to pray the gay away. Like there really are a lot of things that people do because they are not accepting of their kids. There's no way. I even had to have conversations with my own, family, and some of them would question. They're like, how do you know that you like guys? And I'm like, well, how do you know you like women? What do you mean? What kind of question is that?
Very.
Like I can't explain. And then one of my family members even asked, do you think it's like something when your mom was pregnant, it's a certain medication? I was like, this is the dumbest conversation I've ever had. But since you don't know, I'm not going to get upset with you. I'm going to explain it the best way possible. That is not the case. Nobody, in my opinion, who comes out and who's a member of the LGBTQIA plus community, you can't just say, oh, well, was their mom taking medication? What?
No, ridiculous. I'm very, even kids at a young age, even living in California. Now this is Orange County and not like, a different place in California, but kids still struggle with this, even though it is I want to say a little easier. That's because of a lot of people before us who had come out and kind of paved that way for it to be more normalized. Even they have, they second guess themselves on who they are because of what people say and what people. I'm glad that Max and
I
Heather's other kids do have Heather as a support and parents like that to,
I agree.
To be behind them.
Listen, also moving on, because we can sit here and praise Heather. You can call her a lot of things. I think she's a great mom. I love her line of communication with her kids. But I do want to talk about Noella and Emily going out together. And when they go out, you see Noella meets up with Emily. They're meeting up for a pedicure. And Noella's worrying about Shannon's upcoming luncheon. She kind of explains that she is a typical Gemini. And she realizes while she cares about the group, she knows that she's had some moments, some dysfunctional moments, and she hopes that they can just get along and put the past in the past. But I really agreed with Emily when Noella was saying, at this point in my life, it's fight or flight. I liked when Emily was kind of telling her, Noella, you need to recognize that sometimes you're unreasonable, you are hurtful, and that's when you're triggered. But also maybe you should ask about somebody else's life and not just always talk about yourself, because it gets exhausting and it's always about Noella. All of us have things going
on. Noella is okay. The fact that she's a Gemini almost makes complete sense to me. Okay. But I do feel like there's just kind of some narcissistic tendencies with her. And she is a bit draining and a bit suffocating because she's always pushing stuff like her stuff down your throat. She really isn't there to have conversations with other people. It's Noella about Noella. Now, I do have to say, I do enjoy watching her on the show.
I like watching her.
But she is ridiculous in all sense of the word.
Do you think, though, that's fair for Emily? And I want to ask you guys in the live chat, too. 150 in the live chat. Guys, go ahead and smash that like button. Don't forget, it's a subscribers-only live chat. So if you're not subscribed, get subscribed. Let's see if we can't get to 200. But do you think it's fair, this is for you in the live chat, that, Emily is kind of explaining to Noella that it is suffocating, it is exhausting, but this is very real to Noella. She has a child with special needs. Her husband took off and is in a completely different country. He lopped off her credit card. She has no way to pay the bills or for her child's therapy. And this all just happened. It came raining down on her. And from what she's saying, she was not expecting it.
But we see Noella flip-flop a lot. Okay, she picks and chooses
Gemini.
when she... Yeah, that's the Gemini, but that we see when she wants to bring up stuff and when she doesn't, like what we witnessed in Mexico. 1 minute she's crying about it, 1 minute she's not. 1 minute, and I'm sitting here thinking, you know, she loves to tout and everything that she is a bisexual woman, which is great. Good, all the power to her. And she's attracted both men and women, but you're also married to a man. But I don't know. She's very confusing, and I almost feel like Noella is lost.
You know, somebody said in here, and I agree with it. It was Tess-ish. I like watching her too, but she's such a Bronwyn tornado. I feel like it's going to end the same way. And I think that Noella came in and she was so obviously a fan of the show. She even talked about Heather Dubrow. She said she feels like Heather Dubrow is threatened by her. And she's like, honestly, I looked up to Heather. I knew all of these women. I was obviously friends with Bronwyn. She's had Vicky on her private jet when she had a private jet. And knowing that she watched the show, it just makes me think that she came into this so calculated. She knew how she was going to, or how she wanted to portray herself. She knew the conversation she wanted to have. And she's constantly trying to get the shock factor. Dr. Jen Armstrong did an after show kind of interview. And she said, the very first time I met her, I was ordering my salad. We were sitting at a table. And she said, yeah, me and my husband like to F a bunch of people. And look at this photo of the size of his, you know.
Well,
and
last week we got to see a photo of her and two other women's thing.
Yeah.
You know, like I can see why maybe the marriage didn't work out.
I mean, I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say. I think in my opinion, yeah, that's such a hard thing to navigate. I've even watched therapists talk about this, like polyamorous relationships, bringing third parties in. You really have to have like an extreme level of confidence in who you are and in your relationship to be able to do that. And I think just surprising your husband, she didn't even surprise her husband for her.
Or a full level of confidence, like this, just devil's advocate here, like a full level of confidence and place in your relationship where you don't have to have that in there.
Right. The stack. Yes, it was the stack.
The stack.
Yes.
The stack of insufferable. No, I'm just kidding.
No, Noella came in too hot for a first season. Okay. I mean,
you know, but here's the thing: we need a train wreck, right? And I don't want to label Noella as a train wreck. I mean,
you just did.
She's doing it. She's doing it herself. Oh. But we do need kind of that kind of nonsense character, like Bronwyn always was, until she was too much, you know. And I really appreciate how kind of just this cast to me is really good right now. I like having Heather, the OG, back, because, like, as you said, we have new women and new girls, even in new franchises like Salt Lake, who have been watching these shows for years and years and years, who are trying to caricaturize themselves into these, like, how they want to be perceived instead of just being natural. Right. But I'm glad we have Heather and Shannon, because they've been on the show for a long time. They know how this works. Okay. Then you have Emily and Gina, who I never really enjoyed on the show until this season, who, my God, dream team. They're amazing. Bad weather. This is a bad blizzard. This is a bad tsunami. This is something bigger than just a little bit of bad weather. I can tell you, because they know the assignment and they're coming in completely hot. Okay. Yes. Love them. Dr. Jen Armstrong and Noella. And I know when we started recapping OC, I said, they're just waiting in the wings for their moment. They're coming out. And at first I was like, hey, Jen Armstrong's not doing it for me. The more and more I'm getting to know her, I actually do enjoy watching her. The more and more, I thought I was going to love Noella this first few episodes, and then she's just a mess. And it's honestly, it's a great dynamic. The cast has a great dynamic right now, and I can watch it every week, and I love it. You know, someone just said the new frickin' frack.
Yes, the new frickin' frack. It was interesting to me because yesterday when we did the Jersey recap with Jolene Lunzer, Ryan Bailey, Zach Peter, and Jeff Epstein, and announced that they would be joining us. Jeff Epstein has a great rapport with these women, and he actually went out to dinner with Dr. Jen. He's like, you know, you're so interesting in real life, but you're so boring on the show. I'm like, you told her that? He's like, well, not exactly, but yeah, kind of. Like, I need you to step it up, girl. And I'm like, okay, it's a lot. But we did pan over to Shannon's luncheon. And when we go over to Shannon's luncheon, did you see when, one, she forgot the appetizers, and two, she's trying to get everything ready. Did you see how the server was staring at her? Like, I just hate my life. I don't want to be here. I mean,
we were definitely not at a Heather Dubrow event. That is for sure, because her OCD and controlling nature usually leads to a pretty good event until she kicks people out and they can't eat any of the food. But
$30,000 gone to waste.
Yeah, she's like, we just had to throw away the Wagyu. I'm like, I would have eaten that for weeks, girl. Like,
Yes.
send it this way.
I mean, I'll order Domino's and munch on it for 3 days, and Jason's like, no.
That's gross, Adam. No, no one
Sorry.
should. No. Ugh.
Let alone Wagyu.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Getting back to it. Go ahead.
This was just an entertaining. The whole lunch in was entertaining.
I agree. So we see where Heather and Dr. Jen are on their way to Shannon's party, and on their way, Jen kind of drops the bombshell on Heather that Ryan, not Ryan, which I love that Ryan Bailey has now changed his name to Ryan. It's so obnoxious, but he's hilarious. Ryan packed his bags and left last night. And really, in my mind, I was just wondering, did he put any shirts in those bags? But who knows? Jen said that she feels at this moment she's completely alone. She feels humiliated, and she thinks that she might need a divorce, and she never wants to feel the way that she's feeling again right now. My heart actually broke for her, but Heather's trying to talk Jen out of it and saying, maybe you guys can get through this. Only time will tell. Therapy helps. And Jen also said she doesn't want to talk about this with the other women. And Heather said, listen, if you need me to divert the conversation, I can absolutely do that. Which, hold on. As soon as Dr. Jen gets there, the first thing she opens up about is the fact that Ryan actually packed his stuff and got the out of there. So wait.
You hand her the mic
you didn't want to talk about this.
You hand her the mic and she gives you the whole show in 5 minutes. I didn't think she'd want to talk about that either, but she obviously she needs some support and she needs some advice. I don't know if the advice she was getting was necessarily great. I know how she's feeling, and I said like Heather or not love Heather, but she does offer some good advice, and her and Terry are doing something right. I love the advice that Emily gave of a mission statement. I think that is great. We were talking about that yesterday. I was like, that's a great idea.
Can I get a ghostwriter to write my mission statement? I don't know.
But when it becomes like that and the relationship becomes so troublesome, Noella's first instinct was just get a divorce. Like, it's just that easy. You just got served papers from flowers, girl. Like, it's not everybody wants to do that. And this was also a moment, like you're bringing up this picture here of Emily, like, shut up, Noella. We're not always talking about you and your divorce.
Wait, we're gonna get into that. But were you completely shocked by Heather's gift to Shannon with the microdosing? I was like, how did Fancy Pants come in with the microdosing? And she's like, I didn't know if it was illegal, but since
I thought she was too fancy.
Okay, so they're micro dosing, because if you go
you were telling me last night though, you were telling me that when one of those little packs in the whole thing is a microdose. Right? Do you remember when you told me that this little cookie you gave me was a microdose and it was like 10 milligrams and I was like on cloud 9 the whole day?
I needed you to go to sleep.
We were going to a friend's house.
No, well, because yes, you can get little things, and in California it's completely legal, but they were microdosing. But I was saying, because they're like biting off this little Tootsie Roll and they're passing it around and each taking a tiny little bite. The whole thing is a microdose. You take the whole thing. It depends. Everybody has a different tolerance, but I love the editing where Shannon's like, can you pass a cookie? And I'm like, okay, this is beyond. That is like, no, because it's also.
Thanks for the help production.
Yeah, thanks for the help production, but it also goes by weight and size and like the ability to how much you can handle.
Obviously Adam has had experience, so
no, I don't know what I'm talking about here, but for the microdosing thing, listen, I just wasn't expecting it from Heather. I thought it was kind of funny, and okay, she brought the party.
Because I think we see Heather as kind of an uptight kind of personality, OCD, controlling, nature, and you just don't. That's something you don't expect from Heather. Like, we get the whole champagne thing. I mean, I do especially, but I don't think we expected Heather to be into the microdosing or that. But I didn't expect Heather to be such a great, understanding mother to her kids in the LGBTQIA+ community. So
I'm not surprised by that.
We're getting different sides of Heather.
Yeah, I like it. She's like an onion. There's layers. Every time I say that, people are like, who did I say that? I was doing an interview with one of the housewives, and I was like, you're like an onion. You have layers. She's like, I'm like a rose, and I have petals. And
oh, Lord.
I was like,
no,
ooh.
Sometimes you come off as an onion, girl. Okay.
Okay. Okay. All right. So getting back to it, though, legit, all it takes for Jen to kind of talk about the news with Ryan is someone simply asking the question, "How are you?" And then there goes the so much for talking about your personal life. And she said to the women that Ryan had a big lash out last night. And Emily did try to give her some sound advice. And Emily was like, listen, I had a rocky marriage with my husband, Shane, and I recommend therapy. She also suggested, like you said, why don't you guys write a mission statement like she did with Shane? And then, of course, they continue to talk about the divorce talk. And this was supposed to be a light lunch, but honestly, we know how that works. It's never a light lunch. And Noella decides to chime in and she's like, well, you need to get ahead of the curve, girl, and file for divorce. Like, get ahead of this. And I felt bad for her because as she's crying, she's like, I love this man. I want to figure it out. We have obviously a personal life, work-life balance. That's not a good balance. I have my children with this person. I don't want to go through this process again. I don't want to date. I want to figure out how to make this work. And we know to this day that they are back together. They did actually separate for a couple months and they realized that they don't want to do life without each other. So I'm happy for that for them. But Noella in that moment kind of comes off, and I know this is her own experience, but she comes off like a little bit of a toxic friend. It's like if I go to my friends and, we've been together for 8 years and obviously we've had ups and downs. We get in arguments. That's normal. Everyone gets into arguments. And if I, ever share with my friends, yeah, Jason and I are arguing, I know who my good friends are. And I hate to say this, but I also know like my shitty friends, because my shitty friends will be like, oh, break up with them. You can move in with me and then we'll party and have a lot of fun. And then my good friends are like, Adam, you need to take a moment.
I think too, yeah. And I think too, when you've been, I don't know how anybody else feels, but you've been in relationships before, I always feel like you're the same issues and same problems into the next relationship with the next person. So if you want to work on something, you have to be willing to work on it with the person because those issues and things are not going to go away. And that's kind of how I felt about Jen and Ryan. I'm like, okay. And then now knowing that they're back together and everything, they have taken, let's call it an opportunity. They're taking an opportunity to work on themselves and the things they need. I mean, we saw, early on production kind of allude to there's a nanny in the house. And you remember that whole scene, like it was like the first episode, but Dr. Jen is never around. And she talks about how she's building her business. She's just opening another office in Calabasas. And she seems, I'm glad they're listening to each other, but
right. Did you think it was inappropriate though? Because it threw me back a little bit when immediately she jumps in, Noella, and she asks a question and she's like, do you guys have a prenup? And I'm like, that's none of your business, but this is Housewives. And we have those conversations, but the rest of the women look, and even Heather's face is like disgusted, like, how dare you? And Noella's like, what? I'm just saying, girl, I'm going through it too. I'm just saying. And all
Noella though is not going through it. She's not going through a normal, like what you would call, there no divorce is normal. Let's just put it that way. But
yes,
Noella's is very different than I would maybe imagine Ryan and Jen's divorce to go through. I mean, your husband just like got up and left and went to Puerto Rico and served you with papers. That's very different, than two people. Yeah. Than two people not getting along, and working on their relationship. So I would worry. Noella needs to worry about herself right now, which she is, because she's telling us every episode about her divorce.
Well, and that's what she was saying. And now she's diverting the conversation to her and her divorce. And she's like, this happened not even 6 weeks ago. Gina's trying to give us a relatable situation with what happened in her divorce. And there was domestic violence involved. Shannon dealt with infidelity. Emily said that she got to this kind of moment in her relationship with Shane for like 1 or 2 years where they really didn't like each other. And she actually sat down with him and was like, I'm not comfortable. What do we do? How do we get past this? Can we get past this? Or do we just need to split up? Because I want to know now. And for Noella, she ends up, this actually would probably be the most appropriate time for her to speak up about the divorce, since that's the topic of conversation. I just don't really love the intrusive questions because I think that they're a little bit much, but okay. Okay, Noella, do your thing. And you see Emily just freaks out and she's like, it's not all about you.
I mean, at this point, I think Emily she's also seeing, what Heather said every time that, this is why Heather originally kind of didn't invite her to Mexico, which I still think that's production because she was obviously going to be in Mexico anyway. We saw her not invite her because, and what happened and what Heather said, this is why the dynamic always changes when Noella's around. And it's suffocating. It's exhausting. Even Gina was like, I'm trying to work with Noella on, what did she say? Be part of the room, don't become the room, or whatever.
Right.
I feel like this is something that Noella is not understanding. And I feel like if she keeps pushing that, people are not going to feel so sorry for her every time she brings up her divorce.
I mean, I agree with that. And, you see, I love where Shannon's walking away once, Emily gets up and walks away. Jen walks away, which Dr. Jen Armstrong, I was reading comments on Twitter last night, which, by the way, guys, almost 300 in the room. Smash that like button. But she was giving us, kind of whiplash with how she felt. And I was reading comments on Twitter where they were like, Dr. Jen, in the car, you said you want a divorce. And then, after that, you said, I want to make this a success and I want to see progress and I want to put myself into this. I don't want a divorce, but people go through this a lot. Like, in the moment, you might be so pissed off at your partner and you're like, I want to split up. But then you really think about it and you think about the life you've built. And you're like, no,
when you have a family involved and you have business and you have, she talked about when she met Ryan, he was so like carefree. Everything was just easy and everything that it changed because he still kind of feels, I don't know what the right word is, kind of just, he's easygoing and she's trying to build a whole bunch of business and make a better life for her family. But it's the easy out to give up, like just divorce, just break up, just do that. But when you have so much involved and you truly do love the person, because I mean, honestly, even when they sit down together, it feels like they do love each other. I just don't think they're not communicating very well. Also, Ryan hates the cameras around him. Yeah. He's not used to that. This is not something.
It's not normal.
It's not normal at all.
It's not normal to have 4 different camera angles in your face while you're talking about your relationship issues, something that's like, so, I mean, I couldn't even imagine doing that. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't want cameras in my face while I'm, listening to all of the things that you think I do wrong, or I think that you do wrong. I would be like, this is so invasive, but I get that's what you sign up for. Let's keep the conversation moving though, because there's one thing, everyone always comments for you on your skincare. Jason, what do you suggest? What do you use to moisturize? I'm like, Jesus Christ. Jason. But I love it.
Okay. I'm not Noella here. Okay.
No. You never make it about yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. But Gina announces that she is launching a skincare line. And I was like, what? How many skincare lines can we actually, use or need? It seems like it's such an oversaturated, market. And
I mean, just within the housewives in general at this point.
Shannon appeared, I mean, she did not look thrilled about this. She's like, well, I have many businesses and skincare is one of those businesses. And when Gina
apparently that's how she stays on the show. So,
I mean, she's like, wow, good for Gina. Like, she did not look like she was happy. And the women kind of picked up on it. And I'm like, Shannon.
Do you think that Shannon had that because she like maybe was expecting Gina to come to her for some advice or for some help?
No, I think that I think it's like the Bethany Frankel Sonia thing when, Sonia came in and she's like, I'm doing Tipsy Girl. And Bethany's like, okay, wait a minute. 1, this is a cheater brand. You're playing off my name. And 2, this is like, find your lane. And I think that Shannon's looking at, but then again, Shannon has like these, packaged food meals. She has skincare. She has this like lemon drip, citrus drip, whatever it is that goes into your water. She's now like the voice for packaging for your businesses. Like, you can't hit every market and think that some of the other housewives.
I mean, hey, I enjoy watching Shannon on that Ship It, whatever it is, that Ship commercial.
Better than Melissa.
More than Thank you. That's what I was just going to say. Melissa Gorgon commercial needs to never, ever happen, especially those Marshalls ones where, what's the girl from Winter House? Like I used to, Sierra? Was it Sierra?
Yeah, Sierra, I think.
Yeah, she's like, oh my gosh, it's Melissa Gorgon. She comes in, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? I actually believe Shannon when I see her on the shipping commercial, and Shannon's businesses are successful. So maybe she was just like, I wish Gina would come to me for advice, or maybe she kind of feels threatened because who at this point do you want to buy skincare from? You want to buy it from Shannon or would you buy it from Gina? I mean, I'd buy it from Gina.
Well, and to be fair, like Heather didn't give her the same reaction. Heather and Dr. Terry Dubrow have their own skincare line, and she was like rooting for Gina. She's like, you know what? If this is something you want to do and you think you can take it to the next level, go out there.
She's like, cute.
Yeah, well,
have fun with that.
she's like, yeah, she probably is like cute, but I don't know. Tincture Adam, remember her yelling at Kelly Dodd? Yes. But remember Kelly Dodd got pissed off at Shannon too. She's like, are you doing a water line? I buy it from Jason. Maybe Jason, we should get on skincare.
Listen,
I'm
I'm gonna do
that for you,
guys. So I'm using. Can I just like take 2 seconds, just really quick,
gosh,
because
are we doing an infomercial?
but you're getting me more awesome stuff. Okay, so I've tried this by recommendation of a friend. It's Dermatology. It's their moisturizer, and I posted about it on my Instagram, and she said, hey, we'd love to send you, one of the social media people was like, we'd love to send you another product too. Would you post about it? I'm like, oh my God, yeah. I said, my fiance has a YouTube channel and we always talk about skincare. People are always asking us. She's like, oh my gosh, Up and Atom, like I watch him every day. And I was like, what the hell? So she's sending us like a big box, and I can't wait to really try this, because this moisturizer I freaking love. Now, I was an ambassador for Whitney Rose's skincare line, and there were some things I liked and I didn't like, but I do know how much work she puts into it. I don't know, though, all of these skincare lines and skincare stuff coming from housewives. It's definitely, it's an oversaturated market, like tequila. I was talking about Lisa Barlow's tequila, which is actually great. But it's oversaturated in the housewife market too.
Right.
So, yeah.
I mean, yeah, no, I agree. I love that Tinsley's opinion said, here comes Perez. Laugh my ass off. Just kidding.
This brand, sorry, Michelle, this is called Dermatology. I don't know if there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
DRNTLGY. Okay.
Yeah, really cool. They're from California.
Is so good. Okay, awesome. Now, when they're talking, Gina was expressing to Emily that she feels like she can't get over how jealous Shannon appeared to be of her friendship with Heather. And I'm kind of feeling the same way a little bit. And Shannon, we've seen her in the past. She at one point grouped herself with Vicky and Tamra, and they were the Tres Amigas, and that's how they navigated it. By the way, guys, 300 in the room, smash that like button. I see Trish Phillips in the call log. Or the weight room. I will bring you up as well, just to kind of chime in on this. But with Gina and Heather, I can see if anybody should be maybe getting jealous out of this, it would be the other half to her housewife, which would be Emily, not Shannon.
Okay, so when we first started the season, you saw Shannon, Emily, and Gina sit down, and we really thought this was going to be like the new Tres Amigas, right? But you can see the dynamic has changed. Even during Heather's home tour, you saw Gina was just so excited to be there. You even saw Shannon like, I used to have this. I used to live here. And so I feel like maybe Shannon is missing her friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but also, hold on. I think, honestly, Shannon deserves every bit of this that she gets. Because, to be fair, she was so all about, like, not accepting new women into the group. And she became kind of this mean girl at the very beginning when she had Tamra and Vicky to latch onto. Yeah. And Tamra, this is why I want Tamra back on the show so bad. Because Tamra was taking her calls at all times of the night. I don't know. I need to get a new camling thing. Tamra was taking her calls at all times of the night. And when she was pretty much, at her beck and call. She was kind of like an assistant. And then all of a sudden, when she knew Tamra was no longer going to be on the show, boom, there goes Tamra and the friendship. And Tamra's like, that is such a shitty friend. You needed me on the show. You played off of that. And then the minute that I'm no longer on the show, you don't ask me about my kids. You don't ask me about my business. The calls stop. It's like she completely used her for the show. So if you're alone, I'm not feeling sorry for you.
I'm gonna have to agree with that. We've seen many cases of that when you have a really tight friendship on The Real Housewives, and then one person leaves the show and they all stop talking. I'm surprised people still talk to Teddy Mellencamp.
I mean,
hey.
Sorry. Hey.
Hey.
Cam Link, guys, I don't know what the hell's going on. But no, I think for Shannon, she has a lot to learn about being a friend and she's so sure she doesn't have the Heather Dubrow money, but she's so fortunate. She has a beautiful home. She has beautiful daughters. She didn't, her marriage didn't last with David, but we've seen videos of David. Let David go be his own thing. And she has a great relationship from what we can see with John Jansen. I think what happens
so far, I like John.
Yeah, I think he's good for her. I thought at first I was a little skeptical, like he's a little weird, but I think he's actually good for her. So
Yeah, I don't know if she should be walking around that boat after a few tequilas, but while it's moving. But
when he's like, grab the line, grab the line.
Grab the line. She's like, ah! Girl, don't fall in the water, and John, please. We don't need an incident.
Exactly. All right, guys, 3:30 in the room. Smash that like button. We're about to bring up Trish Phillips. But before we do, ending us off on the show, you see where Dr. Jen joins Emily and Shannon for dinner. And Emily wants to know when Jen left Shannon's, and Jen shares that she hasn't had that big conversation with Ryan about their marriage yet. Jen pretty much explained that her whole family fell apart when her father died. And Jen tried to replace the void with Ryan because he was easy and carefree. But it turns out that actually caused a disruption now in their marriage. Now, Emily actually came out and asked Shannon if she gets jealous of Gina's relationship with Heather. And Shannon's like, I'm not jealous. But her reaction kind of threw us off. And Emily keeps poking and prodding, and that's why we're starting to like her more and more. And Shannon explains that the skincare is also part of one of her businesses, but in no way is she envious or concerned about Gina's product or friendship. She said Gina's ego needs to put a little pin in it. And she also claimed that she does not sit around worrying about petty stuff like that. She's over Emily constantly stirring the pot, and she's pissed that this is even being said out loud.
Did you think though Emily had that was a valid question for Emily to ask?
Which one?
To ask if she feels threatened by Gina's relationship with Heather?
I mean, I think
that's a conversation. That's okay. If Emily felt like that, she could ask Shannon.
Yeah, it's not like
that was shit stirring.
If Noella's asking about a prenup, then I think she can ask, you know what I mean? Like it's a lot lower on the totem pole. But now that I'm thinking about it, maybe Shannon could be insecure about Gina's skincare because she is getting so close with Heather. I mean, Shannon doesn't even know that Heather is going or taking Gina to New York yet. But I'm sure she also knows in her mind, Heather has all of the connections.
I thought they discussed that at dinner. Didn't they discuss that?
Oh, okay. Then it was at the end of it.
Yeah.
But she's in the business, and Shannon might be thinking in her mind, Heather could actually help Gina in her skincare line and maybe make it more profitable, a better product than what Shannon has. She has, in my opinion, it reads envious. I don't know if jealous is a strong word, but it does read a little envious.
Yeah, it does. And Dee Simmons just said in the chat, Emily needs to drink her water and mind her business. Yes, but this is why I'm really loving her, because she's not minding her business at all, and it's driving all these situations in the show, which I'm very happy for, even though I'd agree with you.
Yeah.
Listen, Emily and Gina know the assignment this season. They're coming in hot, and they
are coming in hot.
I feel like we have,
I thought it was appropriate and a valid, normal question, in my opinion, unless I'm a stir too, and I agree.
Listen,
drink your water.
Yeah, but we want to see it. I thought it was funny too on Watch What Happens Live last night. Andy saying like, whoever would imagine Heather and Shannon sitting together and microdosing?
I mean,
like I feel like their relationship. I do you think they're going to remain friends for the rest of the season? Because I kind of like to see Heather and Shannon as friends, and we thought at the beginning of the season this was never going to happen.
I don't think Gina will ever go up against Heather. I think she really enjoys this friendship, and I think Heather, even though she can be overbearing, she's definitely type A. She has to control the situation. I think that, Gina really enjoys that. She's like, my life is so chaotic that I would rather just, have somebody who comes in, they have this opulent lifestyle. They kind of take control. They take it to the next level. Yeah, I'll come play with you on your private jet and sit in like the winner's circle or whatever it is. But listen, I don't want to just take our opinions on this. I definitely want to bring up Trish. Have you met Trish, Jason?
No, I mean, we always talk like in the chat and stuff, but not in person. So that's,
oh my gosh.
Or not in person, but whatever the hell, on StreamYard or...
Yes, well, not on StreamYard. Well, you're going to get to meet Trish in person because her and Jordan are coming together to Nashville.
No way.
Yes, and I'm so excited.
I'm so excited for this whole freaking... April is I'm like preparing for April right now.
I know. Can I just say really quick, on top of everything we have going on in April, Jason last night tried to pile more on my plate at the end of April and was like, by the way, also I was thinking we could do this, this, and this. And I'm like, Jason, April is going to feel like an entire year crammed into a month. But okay, yeah, why not? Let's just pile it on.
Yeah, you got to end it with a period.
Okay, let's bring up Trish. Hi, Trish.
Hello.
Hey, Trish.
How are you?
What's on the screen? Oh, there we go. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you perfectly.
Well, hi, Jason. I can't wait to meet you in person.
I can't wait. I'm excited.
We're going to have a good time.
Yes,
hopefully I'll be able to upgrade. I haven't heard back yet. Now I think you all have run out of tickets. I emailed. We'll see what happens with that. But
well, just message me too on Instagram, Trish, and we'll talk if they get back to you. And we'll talk.
Get it worked out. Okay,
yeah,
great.
We'll get it worked out.
Well, I love this conversation today. I love the microdosing. I love watching Heather with her family. That, even though she's a bazillionaire, I've been married almost 23 years, and it's wonderful to see other families and how, when they come together, how they tackle issues. And even though my family usually does it around our dinner table and not at Nobu, that would be nice. It makes Heather more relatable. And I think, not to get off topic too much, but with Candace, I think one of the things that bothers me, at least, about Candace is I don't see growth. I don't see her ever coming back and saying, I went in too hard, or, even if you think the other person deserved it, you never see her coming back and saying that she's sorry for anything. And
she's not ever wrong.
She's not ever wrong. And that's what makes her less fun to watch, I think. And yeah, so I think we all make mistakes, but being able to learn and grow, and even if you're a bazillionaire like Heather, you can still learn. But I love the fact that she seems to have some of the same issues that all moms do, dealing with your teenagers growing up, and whether they're part of the that's a lovely picture. And the fact that her kids are so comfortable and open, it's just, that I think makes Heather so much more likable.
I agree with that. Did you, Trish, watching this, I mean, I know that they're all sick of Noella constantly talking about her divorce, and I think they'd be more open to listening to it if she asked about the other women. But do you think right now, since this is fresh, like just a month and a half into her situation, she has no idea what's going on, she's trying to figure out how she's going to pay her bills, her son has special needs and has to go to therapy, those bills need to be paid too. Do you think it's appropriate that the women, or Emily specifically, says pretty much, shut up, all you do is talk about your divorce and I'm over it? Or do you think, no, she's lacking compassion?
Well, if they were truly friends as opposed to castmates, I think I've had friends who've gone through divorce, and it's, I think the most important thing is just to be there and to listen, and not necessarily even give advice, because they are often, as you saw with Jen, working through it themselves. Your initial reaction is, I want a divorce. And then you start thinking, well, I've got 23 years in this marriage. We've got 4 kids. I want to work through this. So I think that I've lost my train of thought now. We're talking about.
I do that all the time. If she's lacking compassion for Noella.
Right. So I think that, as we pointed out, these women aren't even really, really true friends, are they? So even if they were true friends, it would be a lot. And I think it's a lot for Noella. And I think she needs professional help. I really do. I don't know how anyone could go through all of this without having a professional to talk to, because even having your friends around, even if they were your true friends and not just castmates, it would be a lot for them. And they might feel like they're not doing they're not helping you appropriately, and it does have to be a give and take, if it's a true friendship, there does have to be a give and take. Although when someone's going through it, it's only been, as you say, a few weeks or a few months, usually your true friends will gather around you. But at some point, you've got to pull yourself together and get the help that you need, whether it's professional attorney help or accounting help or therapy from a psychiatrist to help you through these issues. So yeah, especially with a child with special needs. Absolutely. I've got a daughter with special needs. So my oldest stepdaughter, but it's, it can be very challenging.
Yeah, it has its own challenge. Absolutely. And my other question for you was the same question Jason asked me. Do you think that Shannon could potentially be jealous of Gina's relationship with Heather? Do you think that she might feel like I know I'll never be close with Heather because we've gotten into fights before. She's kicked me out of her house. You know, I brought up this Terry DeBro, Nicole James lawsuit. I know we'll be surface friends and we can film together, but she's definitely not going to be inviting Shannon to New York. Do you think Shannon kind of has, I don't know, FOMO or?
Sure. I mean, I think any normal person would. I think it's unfortunate that they started off on such a bad foot because really, when Shannon brought up that business of, I wonder if this girl Nicole is the same one that I knew, but don't bring it up because I don't want to start a mess. And then the first thing Gina does is bring it up to start a mess, and then it's Shannon who winds up being told, if you come after me again, you'll lose more than just my friendship. I felt like Shannon kind of got a bit of a rough deal there.
Right.
I bet when she heard that Heather was coming back, she was probably hopeful that they would be able to build a friendship as the two OGs. And then it started off on a bad foot. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of jealousy or wish that maybe she were a bit closer and enjoying some of the perks of being close with Heather.
To be fair, too, when Gina and Emily, did the after show and they talked about this, they made a great point. Shannon's very well versed at this point in the housewives world. And I think that she knows by even talking about this and talking about it in kind of this code of, is that the same one? We can't talk about it, but 4 cameras are in your face. So it's going to turn into a storyline because you're choosing to not talk about it on camera. Gina and Emily were like, what you're doing. And now that you've said this, production isn't going to let you get away with not bringing it up because in their minds, they're like, oh, we have a storyline.
Right. But then they didn't let her investigate or bring it up. They just dropped a big turd right in the middle of the party. I mean, yeah. Bang, they walk in and the first thing is, this is what we heard. It was just terrible timing and just awful all the way around. I hope they donated that food to some homeless shelters in LA because that's just awful. And one thing I want to ask you about LA, I have a dear friend that I went to college with, and he married his college sweetheart. They've been married 33 years. He lives just north of San Diego in one of those Rancho, one of those places. One of those fancy, I don't know. He's a big time partner of a real estate firm. And he was telling me that he is the only partner in his firm that's still married to his first wife, that all the other, wealthy partners in his real estate firm are all on number 2, 3, 4, and I live in Richmond, so it's a completely different kind of mindset out here. And I'm just curious, from when you all lived in LA, is that normal? Is that one reason why Jen, who's this beautiful, successful doctor, making this wonderful life for her family, and she's got a husband who resents her for it or can't be supportive? I mean, that just seems weird to me. It must be slim pickings for women in LA. Or men just must trade women in
I mean, I would think
hard.
so, but then I'm thinking about, working for Lisa Vanderpump for so many years, and they've been together for a really long time, but I guess
they're a great team.
Yeah, they're a great team. I don't know. I would say
is everything disposable?
I feel like with our gay friends, we were meeting our friends' new boyfriends and girlfriends every week. That was
every week.
That was very
Jason and I talked about the two.
About.
We think one of the healthiest things we could have done was get out of Los Angeles for a minute. And obviously we left during the pandemic because, we bought a condo down here in Palm Beach County. And when we did, unfortunately, our tenants were coming to the end of their time in the condo. They lost their jobs. They let us know they can't afford it anymore. We couldn't afford to pay a mortgage and rent because everybody's going through a pandemic, right? Everyone's losing their jobs. And we ended up making the decision to move back to Florida. And I think it was so healthy because in LA, there's this sort of mentality of keeping up and you can always do better. You can always have better. The grass is always greener on the other side. There's nothing about watering your own grass and trying to make it grow or, but then I don't want to just put that all on LA because my dad has had, multiple different marriages. My mom's been married multiple times. Like when I tell people, they think I'm legit lying on here because I'm like, I had this stepmom, this stepmom, this stepmom, this stepmom, this stepdad, this stepdad, this stepdad, this stepdad. And people are like, there's no way. I'm like, why would I lie about that? That's not, so I've grown up seeing it where Jason and I are completely different. We have completely different, not views, but ideas and ways that we grew up. Jason grew up with his parents together his whole life, and they were religious and Mormon. And my dad, like it seemed, I always make this joke on my channel, when we would get a new wife in the house, a new stepmom, I would be like, okay, we're going to be together for like 3 or 4 years. This is my room. These are my chores. Nothing's changing. Let's just enjoy our 4 years together. And then you'll probably be gone. So let's make the best of it.
Hey, honey. Okay. I'll see you in a few. Sorry, guys. No, I'm with you, Adam. I grew up in sort of having a chaotic childhood, moving around a lot on the West Coast. And then right before my 14th birthday, I moved to Roanoke, Virginia, and I just loved it. I flew from LAX. My dad lived in Santa Monica. My mom lived in Arizona. And I flew from LAX into Roanoke. And it was such a wonderful community where my friends were going to the same school that their parents had gone to, and their cousins lived down the road, and their grandparents lived down another road. And then after I graduated and started working and moved to Richmond, I married a man very much like Jason, who came from a family who had always lived in the same place, 5 siblings. They all lived within a mile of each other, the in-laws who lived down the street. And there's such a sense of community. And I love it because, you can't get away with anything, first of all. Everyone's for good and bad. I mean, you're not going to have like a Dirty John type surgeon move in and people not know about it, because it is a small community. But
I think
I've
we're
always
pretty close to where Jason actually used to live, Trish.
in Richmond.
Well, I'm from DC, and then my parents, we all moved out to Northern Virginia. So
Oh, okay.
I've been down to Richmond and Roanoke and stuff too.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, when I was 20, he moved from the West Coast out here to the East Coast, and he moved to Northern Virginia, which was crazy. And now he lives outside of Fredericksburg.
Crazy.
It's crazy, like nothing I've ever seen. But it's interesting, Adam, that you were drawn to somebody who had the kind of stability that you didn't have. And that was the same with me. When I married my husband 23 years ago, I remember thinking, his family was so wonderful. And that's what I wanted, for myself and for my family. So it's interesting.
I always get a lot of questions too with people asking me, Adam, do you have like any sort of resentment or anything towards your family? And Jason can even tell you, I have such an amazing family. I talk to my parents, my mom and my dad, at least 2-3 times a day. In between recording, I'll call them. And my mom even said yesterday, she's like, I feel like, where's my best friend? I feel like I said, Mom, you have a pregnant stepdaughter and you're running around and doing a lot. I talk to you 2-3 times a day. She's like, yeah, but you don't call me before bed. I'm like, okay, we can't, 2-3 times a day is good. And sometimes Jason will be like, I'm trying to have a conversation. I'm like, hold on, my dad's calling. And he's like, wait, you're always recording or you're on the phone with your family. So when people think that because my family, and I get in trouble for this, I have been too much of an open book on here before, just like talking about the way I grew up and stuff like that. But it gives people this kind of preconceived idea that, like I grew up, what?
All of these stories and everything you've told about your family and everything, and then everyone's coming to see your show.
I know. So my family will be at one of the shows. I don't want to say which
They'll
one.
They'll be like, oh, you're the one who's been married and divorced 6 times. Oh, you're the criminal sister. You're the.
My mom always says, because she watches the lives, and she's like, why do you put all of my business out there? I'm like, Mom, I love you. And she's like, oh.
Okay, no.
But it is funny. Everyone always thinks that I would have this they're like, I'm surprised you're not so effed up in the head. And I'm like, that's not nice. And 2, like they are surprised that I have a good relationship with my family. I'm like, I love my family. They navigated different relationships. We moved a lot. It shaped who I am today. I wouldn't take anything back. That's how I grew up. We all have our own stories.
Well, and I love that. I mean, you both are so young. I'm 56 years old. And, for a while, I think you can, especially in your 20s when things are so chaotic and you think about, well, I didn't have this kind of family that would give me the support or the feeling of roots that I need. But as you get older, I think unless you want to stay stuck in that place of resentment and anger and unhappiness, you have to find a way to move forward. And one of the things I did was I always dated boys from big families. My best friends were always from big families. I find that the mothers of big families didn't mind just taking one more person in and being motherly to, one more kid. So, you find ways to learn life's lessons. I guess I was lucky to have many good friends, kind neighbors, and so on.
Yeah.
But I think if you get to be my age, let's see, wait, what is this? Yes, 56. So if you get to be 56 and you're still complaining about how your parents, messed you up, you're doing yourself a disservice because now you're dragging that on into your life that you could be enjoying today. And
that's funny because Jason and I, we have people individually in both sides of our families who we have this conversation and they are totally victims of their upbringing. And mind you, we had the same upbringing as these people that I'm talking about. And, sometimes they're like, well, if our parents would have done things different, I would be successful in this and that. And, we always talk about this. It's like, as an adult, the beautiful thing about it is you get to take control over your life and you get to kind of paint the rest of your story, rewrite the rest of your story and see, use those experiences, learn from them, but don't be a victim of them. Because like you said, you're doing yourself a total disservice. Like it's not healthy for anyone.
Exactly. Thank you, Tinsley's opinions. You're so dear.
Yes,
that's very sweet.
When you said that too, I was like, wow, first of all, I hope I look like Jason when I'm Jason's age because we have a 10-year age gap. And I really hope I look like Trish.
I know. I really want to look like Trish too.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. Well, my husband is he's 11 years older than me. He likes to say 10 years because for like 2 or 3 months from September to December, I think he's only 10 years older than me. He's like 10 years and 10 months or something. But yeah, that's a good age difference, I think.
Yeah.
A good age difference.
See, your husband and my Jason are kind of the same because Jason, since I was 25, he's like, you're 30. I'm like, I'm not 30.
Oh my gosh. No, but you do stay like after your birthday, you're still like when Adam turned 28, he was still 27 for like 3 months. I'm like, okay, you got to give that. You got to give it up.
Just let me have the 27. Oh, did you get muted? I think you might be muted. No.
Okay.
Bye, Trish. All right.
Bye, Trish.
All right, Jason. So we're rounding this out at an hour. That was a great, honestly, I didn't know how much we could talk about for this. First of all, I love Trish.
Hey, sometimes filler episodes, though, like the lives and having callers and just sometimes those are like the best recaps.
Yeah, and you really pulled it together because, guys, after Jason got off of his headlines, he came out and he was like holding his head, like, my head is throbbing. I have the worst migraine. I said, you don't have to do this recap. And he's like, well, I'm not feeling well. And I was like, you would never know that you weren't feeling well. So thank you for rallying and doing this.
The show must go on.
Okay.
The show must go on.
Keep your Cirque speak. Trish,
okay, before we leave.
Sorry, guys. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, everybody's blacked out. What were we talking about? You were right in the middle of talking about something.
I don't know. So, it was
I was just going to ask
age gaps and stuff.
Oh, age gaps. That's right.
What were you going to ask, Jason?
I was going to ask you guys before we left, though, right before Trish came back on, what you were looking forward to in the next episode of Orange County.
Oh, I want to see how Shannon's going to react I want to see how this continues to play out now that she's saying that Gina has an ego and she needs to put a pin in it. I'm like, how? Because Gina and Shannon are obviously kind of at odds at this point. Gina knows that Heather Dubrow is going to be a key player on the show because of the way that she was casted, brought back into the show for kind of a revamp for season 16. So she's playing her cards right, and Shannon obviously doesn't like it. I'm here for that. I want to see that.
Me too.
I'm interested to see what happens with, I know people haven't really warmed up to Jen, but, I've got to figure out what's going on there because I feel so badly for her. And then with the leg tumor and all that business, I don't feel like, she's getting any love and care from any of the other girls.
No,
Yeah.
I actually really, I'm starting to really enjoy Jen. And like I was telling Adam earlier, I knew Noella and Jen, like at the beginning when we were focusing so much on Heather and Shannon, I knew they would come center stage. And I'm really liking Jen right now, like finally.
Yeah. No,
I
it's
see
funny.
what she's
Like you, I like Noella. At first, Noella with those great big brown eyes, she looks like a doe, like a doe
Yeah.
in the middle of the forest almost, right? And she looks so innocent and sweet, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
A deer in
And
the
you
headlights.
you almost want to take her and give her a big hug, but then she comes out with these zingers and you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
maybe
No,
she's not as
she talks
sweet
too much.
as, yeah, I guess it's that Gemini.
It's definitely
turns out.
Listen, it's definitely that Gemini. Sorry, Gemini people. and
Sorry.
friends. Like I'm a
Aw.
Your
Cancer,
characters
so
were emotional, but Gemini
we're crazy too, but not as crazy as you.
Yeah. Well, with that, Trish, thank you so much for calling in and joining us on this topic today. And always thank you
Seriously.
for being a part of the Wake Up morning show. People were asking me, why is the one from this morning taken down? I thought by playing the Bravo Peacock trailer for, Below Deck, since I played it on Instagram, that it wasn't going to be a problem, but it is a problem because you can't just, have videos where you play other people's content. So I'll be more aware of that in the future, and that way that video doesn't get taken down. It hasn't happened before.
No.
It was, but that's okay. We live and we learn. And so today's show, guys, you won't be able to go see it, but we will be back tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. for another Wake Up. And I won't play a trailer. It'll be great.
Oh, well, you know what, Adam, let me just say one thing before I leave. Hold on, because we were talking about it this morning, and we were talking about why people would be interested in Bob Saget's documents.
Yeah.
Do we have a minute?
Yeah.
Well, as soon as I gotten off the live, I read the newspaper, and they said that during the course of the autopsy and death investigation, the medical examiner's office and sheriff's office created graphic videos and photos of Saget's body, as well as audio recordings. Okay, so it says such records are prohibited by state law from being released publicly, but some media outlets have already filed requests for them, according to the family's lawsuit. And then they go on to say that under federal law, under Florida law, passed after the death of NASCAR legend Dale Earnhardt 2 decades ago, records related to autopsies are required to be kept confidential, with only surviving family members or a government agency as part of its official duties allowed to view them. But then they go on to say, however, upon a showing of good cause, a court can allow the records to be viewed or copied under supervision of the records custodian. And when they talk about showing of good cause, they say that in allowing the records to be viewed, a judge must consider whether it's necessary to evaluate governmental performance and the seriousness of the intrusion into the family's privacy, among other criteria. So when we were talking about what the judge is looking at, they're looking at Bob Saget's privacy versus whether or not it's necessary to let the information to become public in order to evaluate governmental performance. I guess that would mean regarding the autopsy or regarding the investigation.
Right. I think it's probably too, since you said Florida laws, it's probably different, of course, by states. And it's just, there's a lot of questions. And I'm sure since he is such a big public figure, a lot of people thought he was, they kind of looked at him like the big family man and dad. We all loved watching him on Full House. And since this sounds like it has question marks all over it with, the fractures to the skull, and saying that he, suffered an injury that could have been from somebody falling 15 stories, and they were trying to paint it like he hit his head on nightstand. There are going to be questions. So I'm curious to see how far the media goes in trying to uncover that, because people are not going to stop. The media is relentless.
Yeah. Well, if there's any foul play, you'd think that the family would want to get to the bottom of it as well.
I agree. I agree. And
Well,
thank you for sharing that.
Well, thanks again for having me, and I'll check in with you guys later.
All right, we'll see you soon, Trish. Thank you.
Bye, Trish. Nice meeting you.
Bye. You too, Jason.
That's great. We were talking about that this morning, the Bob Saget.
I know.
Before you went on. Yeah.
That's a lot. Are my eyes playing me, or is there something covering the silver play button? No, it's a beautiful orchid that Murray sent to Jason on behalf of his grandmother. Yes, Nojo, your eyes are not playing you. And thank you so much again to Murray for our gifts that you sent today. Again, guys, even to Sarah yesterday, when I said thank you, she sent us a beautiful wine cooler with Jason and I's initials on it and the date 1/22/22 for the day that we hit 100,000 subscribers. It's so sweet. You don't have to do that, but seriously, you guys are the best. I love it.
And also Natalie, like a lot of people who have sent stuff, it's truly it's generous, but at the same time, you guys I send some really meaningful things, and I can't even appreciate that enough. It's
Natalie McClendon's champagne flutes are everything.
Fish.
And the fish, but again, I'm always taken aback. We never expect anything. So that just, I love this community. It's, and Jason, obviously same thing over there, watching you on the headline show and having over 200 and something people in the room when you just started this new segment. You guys are the best. So really, before we go, I want to say
conversation ever.
Best conversation. Over 350 in the room, guys. Thank you so much to our super chat, super stickers. Thank you to our mods. Thank you to our amazing caller. And before we go, I'm going to play this one last thing because we sold out of our VIP tickets for Nashville. So are
you going to play a trailer?
No.
Okay, good.
Funny.
Should we announce? Hey, Adam, should we announce our very special guest for LA?
I don't know, Zach. I mean, should we do it or should we let them
announce themselves? Take it away, guys.
Take it away.
Hey, guys, it's Ryan Bailey from So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey.
It's comedian and podcast host Jolene Lunzer.
Hey, guys, it's Jeff Epstein, and I will be spilling the tea with Zach and Adam.
In LA, at the Bourbon Room in Hollywood, you might even see my framed and the lingerie and the Tom Girardi bought for somebody that is not Erica.
Nana will be there, too.
Nana will be there, too.
Nana will be there.
Let's do this.
I love it. Guys, we'll see you guys on April 7th in LA, April 13th in Nashville, and April 28th in New York. We have 5 confirmed new Bravo celebrities joining us as of yesterday.
It's crazy.
I know. I can't tell you which cities because Zach wants to keep it in and we'll announce it together. So we'll wait.
And every city has, that's what I'm saying. Because, when you guys were talking about it earlier, I think I was saying this when you were on my show just a little while ago that, at first I'm like, wow, LA is going to be the show. And then I'm like, oh my God, Nashville is going to blow LA out of the water. Then I'm like, no, my God, New York is going to be, and it keeps just, every city is going to be so worth it in such a different way. It's going to be awesome.
And fun. I told you earlier too, it was funny because Jordan's like, I don't know if I'm going to show up with no makeup, this. And I was like, well, there's a pre-party, there's a step and repeat, there's a 90-minute show, there's an after party. There's, like balloon arches,
earlier,
there's an ambiance, special cocktails, food.
Jordan said he's coming, or she's coming reunion ready.
Yes,
okay?
Reunion ready.
And I think that is a great, your aunt asked like, what's the attire? And I said reunion ready. And she's like, what does that mean? I was like,
my dad's gonna show up in like I don't know. My family's the best. I love my family. I have to also tell them too, so they come reunion ready. But again, guys, if you don't know, Jason's going to let you know. Jason, where can we find you?
You guys can find me at Down with Jason. I'm sure you already know. It's going to be, I'm just excited for the show. I can't stop talking about the show and meeting people. So yes. I'm excited. And then this Tuesday, we're picking back up, Anchor Watch this week. We did kind of a get to know Josh and I, and we talked about our careers and how we met and stuff like that. But next week, sailing starts. So next Anchor Watch on Tuesday, I will be broadcasting from Boise, Idaho next week. So definitely catch us there because sailing looks like it's going to be a train wreck. So I can't wait to watch it.
Definitely. And it's always fun. And now Jason's recording it out of my studio, so I get to sleep in the bed again. And
that was like for one night, friend. That's not, you listen. I gotta have my space. I gotta have my space.
All right. Guys, don't forget to smash that like button. Thank you for another amazing recap. We love you guys. Also go follow Jason on his channel, Down with Jason. We will be back tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. And of course, in the meantime, we have pre-records to drop along the way. You guys are the best. Love you, love you, love you. If you need to talk to me or you need to upgrade your tickets to VIP, message me or DM me on Instagram. I will be looking for them. I've already received 5 or 6. Jason's received like 3 or 4. So you can reach out to us on there, and we will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.
Bye,
Love you.
everyone.